Welcome back to another exciting episode of You Only Go Once, otherwise known as YOGO. And we're here today with my co-host Eileen Grimes and a very special guest. Eileen, kick us off.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to introduce this wonderful human in my life, Gabby Graham. She is a Venezuelan artist whose mediums are paper, clay, and skin. She's a phenomenal tattoo artist. I can speak from personal stories. Not only are you an artist, you are such a person of huge heart and soul. And that is what I have gotten from you. And I just am so grateful to bring you on to this and start talking. So welcome, Gabby.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for inviting me, guys. It's an honor.
So
Absolutely.
excited.
Yeah. So, we're here. We've already started talking before everyone has now jumped into our conversation. We probably would have talked for hours already. We just hadn't stopped and actually started this. So, Gabby, tell us a little bit about you, right? So we know that the whole concept of this is really about living this life on purpose and being purposeful. How did you start into this world of being an artist, and what has that path been for you?
I think I'm here to talk about stubbornness. Wanted to be an artist since I can remember. I wanted to also learn to speak English since I can remember. And I feel like I've always been a creative person. I grew up in Venezuela, in a little town called Punto Fijo in the peninsula of Paraguay. And I am 38 years old now. I can honestly say growing up in a Latin family didn't make it easier because having girls, I am the fourth to be born and I'm the only daughter. So I have three big brothers. And I feel like in the Latin culture, there's a lot of pressure with boys as to like, what are they going to do? And are they going to pass the name? And with girls, it's completely different. So you kind of drop your name and, they focus so much into having babies and having that.
Sure.
I always felt like that was, not that I didn't want to have kids, but I always felt that I wanted to do something for me that wasn't just having kids or having somebody else in my life. I always been so creative and I love textures and shades. And I even have a friend that laughs at me because he said, you say tones instead of colors. Did you see that tone? It's because it's just not that simple. It's so much out there. I've always been like that. But even with, my parents not being super supportive, when I was about 15 or so, I have this artist that I really, really loved. And I remember even with the help with the dictionary, I put this, I'm pretty sure it's probably a horrible letter in English to send to this artist so he could advise me. My family is telling me one thing and I feel really strongly about this, and what would be your advice? And that's one of the things that changed my life. I think he actually replied, and I remember just like
Wow.
crying about it. I was at a cyber cafe and I just screamed from the top of my lungs. And everyone was like, what the hell? And he practically said, F your family. Do what you love. If it's your passion, if what you want to do, that's what you love. It's your life. And, your parents are going to grow old and they're doing their own things. And you should be able to do what you love to. I just ran home so excited to be able to tell my parents, screw you all. Do my thing. But it really did help me a lot. It was like the only positive thing in common that I have gotten until that point, because everyone was so easily to be like, how are you going to achieve that? When are you going to do that?
Yeah. And the artist thing too, I come from artists, so that probably, makes it different. But yeah, even especially in like American society nowadays, how can you be an artist? You're not going to make money. You're not going to survive. You're not going to, that's cute. Great side project. But what are you actually going to do? Was that sort of some of the messaging you were getting, or, what did that look like? Yeah.
What happened was my brother took me when I was 14 years old when he got his first tattoo. And, to him was like, hey, you like this kind of stuff. You want to come with me? And I'm like, absolutely. And I sit there and I started seeing what was going on. It was just like a life-changing moment. I was just in awe the whole time. And I was just like, what? You can really do this on somebody? So I don't have to draw just on paper, and it just became my goal in existence. Like, in my whole world was wrapped around this and researching this and finding out, because I wasn't just in love with the decorating your body part. I'm into like how beautiful it is that we go through this pain and all these things to get this important image. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so kind of ritualistic to me, and I just loved everything about it. And so once I started researching and I started finding out about different cultures and, like, you know, Polynesian and Maori and what they
Mm-hmm.
meant, and every design, every line means something different, and it's so beautiful. I really fell in love with that whole thing, and that was my goal from there on. And yeah, my family, I mean, the first thing when I'm 14 years old and I tell my dad I want to be a tattoo artist, of course he laughs at me. He tells me this is not going to happen. How is that going to happen? It's not even something that is that well. It's not really that good of a job to begin with in Venezuela. You know, it's something that's better paid here and it's more appreciated here, in my opinion. So I think they never really thought that I would take it that far. And I mean, I didn't either, but my stubbornness was just to really do what I wanted. I wanted to draw. I wanted to eventually tattoo. And I wasn't good, to be honest. Like, that was my struggle, that people could see and be like, oh, how are you going to get there like this? But like practicing and trying my best. I wanted to be able to do all these things that I do, and I can now, but that wasn't easy. I still had to put up the work, and I really had to do my part. You know, a lot of people will tell you negative things, but at the end of the day, it is your life, and that's what you take to bed with you, what you have done. So it was important to me. It's always been important to me.
Where did you get your stubbornness?
My stubbornness, because I'm a Taurus.
Fair enough.
I was born in April, and my dad was also born in April. And I say this a lot of the times. My dad was the harshest. Like, he was so hard on me, and I mean, and all of us really. He had a way to say things, and I can tell you that we were loved. Of course, my parents loved me, but it was tough love a lot of the time.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough, but I also give him a lot of credit, because when he saw something weak and he was like, this is not good enough. I mean, to be honest with you, it pushed me. I'm gonna get to that point. I mean, if anything, I do owe him that a little bit, that he didn't let me sit in mediocrity. Like, he wants me to be better. And I think that's a good thing. You should have had better ways to say. But honestly, it was a good balance I had. My dad was very, very harsh, and my mom was a lovely angel. Like, she was just a positive ray of sunshine in my life. So I have her kind heart, and I am tough. I am even tough to work with, which is why now I work kind of privately. I have my own way of work,
which is amazing.
Yeah, tell me
saying. No, so it's hilarious, because I mean, so the way we met was through plants, which is so funny.
I know.
Through a mutual love of house plants, rare house plants.
Addicted to plants, pretty much.
Yeah, so we talked plants, and then I'd seen the art that Gabby was doing, and even just in our conversation, I know Cheryl just thinks it's funny because I am somehow like continually surrounded by intuitives and like people that just feel the world deeply and feel other people in this really deep, connected way. And I got that from you, even just in like our first conversations. There was something about the way that we were talking, and even though it was, you know, plant related, there was this openness and this vulnerability that you had that I felt immediately while we were talking, right? And it was just, I could see it in the artwork that came out for you. And then even as we've progressed through, you know, working through tattoos, and just the way you approach it, working with the body and intentionally placing things, like you have this ability to see people and the beauty that life can be and present that in art and in just your amazing conversations that we have or not. Like, it just flows easily when we're there, and like whether we talk or not, it's just, there is something so cool and open about who you are, and you're not afraid of who that is. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing. So that's what I got about from you. Yeah.
I probably, some people will listen to this, and people I've worked with in the past are probably like, oh, she could have her times.
Sure, we all can.
That problem is I am very, very straightforward. And with that is that if you ask me a question and there's an option that might hurt you, that option can still come up. You can be mad at me for answering in all honesty, because I never want to hurt anybody. That is never my goal. And at some point I found myself here in Spokane, Washington, in my 20s with a son, which my son has cerebral palsy, and that is another thing to mention. I mean, I have gone through a lot of things, and I had to put my life on hold a couple of times, like my personal things. But when I started tattooing and, interacting with clients and establishing these connections to people, and people coming back to me and being so loyal and being so nice, I definitely, I love that so much. I didn't have anybody in Spokane when I got divorced and I had this little baby. My whole family was back home, and I just found myself here alone, not knowing what to do with a disabled child. We had shared custody, so he would have it half the time. I was dying that half the time.
Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of things, and it was tattooing and interacting with these people that really helped me out too. Like, people do care, and you sit there and you kind of compare lives sometimes. Like, you start talking about something's on your mind, and little do you know that's exactly what this person's going through. And that's how the healing starts, really. And I started paying attention to that and just kind of paying it forward. It matters to me. I do care about my clients, and I care about knowing who they are and what is that they want on themselves, because it's important to me. That's what I would like to have if I walked into a tattoo shop, but that's sadly not the way it goes. And for a lot of people, it could be very intimidating, but just like you said, I have always said this, and it's true, the right people will come to me. And that doesn't mean I don't need advertisement or anything like that. You guys are my advertisement, really, because you'll get to know someone that needs my help, and you more likely be, you know what, Gabby will get to take good care of you. And that's why that person came to my life. So I love the fact that I can work that way, and I can do what I love, and I can help people. And every time that is something special like that, I treasure it. I really do love my job for that. And I love how much my clients open up to me to be able to do it.
Who did you open up to when you really started to move towards becoming an artist? Who was the person that saw you? You talked about your brother seeing you at age 14, right? And saying like, hey, I see you. You seem really fascinated by this. Do you want to come along?
Yeah.
Were there other people like that? Because, again, you said you were born in Venezuela and now you're in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
Obviously, bit of a geographic jump. So could you take us through that a little bit in terms of like, who are the people who saw you, and who do you think were the people that made a radical difference in your life that got you to the point where you're like, yep, I'm ready to fly?
Well, that's a good question. I do have my parents to thank again for that. My brother, I think that brother, my youngest brother, unfortunately, he passed away about a year and a half ago, and it has been tremendously hard. He was
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. He really was the person that offered me the most support and love, absolute love for who I was. Whether I made a mistake or not, he loved me no matter what, and showed it all the time. And that's just so important. He definitely put it in there for me that I could do this, and I owe him a lot. And also my best friend in middle school, high school, Luis Pacheco, I love you. He lives in Argentina, and we really dreamt so many things together when we were like, 14 years old, 13 years old, dreaming about the things that we're going to do. And we both actually ended up doing it. He is in Argentina doing his thing, what he loves. And I'm so proud of him. And he is proud of me. And I think that is one thing. I mean, we're still friends till this day. And I think you should try to find the people in your life that do give you that boost, because the people that give you the negative, there's a lot of them. You can avoid them.
It's true.
Focus on the good ones.
Is there one particular piece of artwork that you're most proud of?
That is a great question. Yes, it's one piece that have become kind of hard to sell. A lot of people have asked me to, they want to buy it, and I just can't part with it. It's a double portrait, and it might sound funny, but it's Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
I saw that on your social media site and it was awesome. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Uh-huh. Yep.
I was just not good at portraits for a long time, honestly. And it's funny that you look surprised. But when I'm telling you that I wasn't good before, I really wasn't. I really did put my hours. I did so much research. I looked at videos. I found people that were doing what I loved and try to find their techniques and do my own thing. And that's really what made it happen. Because it was very difficult for me to get into, the extreme like realism, hyper realism, to do
Yeah.
pieces like that, to go for just doing a portrait that looks pretty, to look like something that has pores and hair and everything that you can see. It took me about a good solid 2 years and tears in my eyes of frustration.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, to really do all that stuff and get down to all those details. And I'm telling you, it's one of the proudest moments to see that picture and be like, I really did this. And I couldn't before. 2 years ago, I really couldn't. It just took me that long. And now I have that set of tools on my belt and I feel proud of that. So that's a piece that I always look at. And I know that, I struggled to get there and I'm very, very proud of it. So I wouldn't just let it go for a couple $100.
Yeah.
It's more valuable to me than that.
Well, it definitely shows because that piece of art, again, so I told Gabby at the beginning of this before we started really recording is that I went and looked at her social media site and that's
Dead Dali.
Dead Dali, thank you.
Yeah.
So DeaddDali.
Yeah.
For people listening, and just scroll down and the multimedia art that you have in there between the sculptures and all the different materials that you use, because I always forget that there's something crunchy about sculpture. I noticed you used aluminum foil to create one where you're also applying the clay and looking at that person in detail and figuring some of those items out. There's the watercolor work that you've done. There's the portraiture, which kind of blew my mind because I knew immediately what picture it was because you could see it. And the two people that she's talking about, I think it's Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, right?
Yeah.
They have very interesting faces because you can tell they have lived very good lives, right? You can see it in their faces and
their friends too. It's adorable. I mean,
it's really cute.
Such an
It is
amazing
really cute. It's really cute. You captured that life well lived in that work. And you could see it, like you could see the glint in Ian McKellen's eyes. You could see like the happiness in Patrick Stewart's face. It's just a very cool picture. And I totally get how proud you are of yourself of that because that's really hard. It's really hard to get those moments captured, how to create stuff that's 3D or 4D on a 2D platform, right? So it's just, kudos to you. I know I kind of went off, but that's okay. I loved it. Go see her site. I don't care.
Thank you. Yeah.
So with that, like Cheryl's saying, you capture sort of like this essence. I see that when you're, at least have worked with me, right, in the tattoo side of things, like you see people. What does that process look like for you? Like, how do you listen? How do you feel that? Because I came in and I was like, this is kind of what I want. This is what I'm thinking. I come in and you're like, this is what I put together. I'm like, yup. That's it. But you see people so deeply and in this way to be able to present this work of art truly that embodies who they are with your style and everything that is a lifelong thing, right? Like how do you do that? How do you see people?
I am an empath. I think that's what makes a big difference. I'm a very empathetic person and I can kind of feel your mood, whether you're around me. When people sit next to me and they talk to me about someone they're lost or anything like that, I really do feel their emotions. And I'm a very visual person. As you're describing things to me, things are just appearing in my mind. They're just not, it's not just a white piece of paper. As you're describing things to me, they are literally happening in my brain. Like it's happening. I'm imagining all that. And there has been times before I have somebody that I've worked with for many years and I had to do a tattoo for her and she had a little spot on her tattoo on her sleeve that didn't have anything. And I had
Mm.
all these many flowers for her family members. And I just had this little spot, and I decided to add this little flower that just popped up in my head. And I was hoping that she wouldn't be mad at me for adding another flower. But when she got there, I was surprised to see that when she saw it, she kind of got teared up, and she said, "What's that? What kind of flower is that?" And I said, "It's a sweet pea." And she honestly, with like tears in her eyes, she said, "That's how my grandpa used to call me. And I forgot to put him in there."
Oh,
That's like one of the examples of how many times that really happens to me all the time. I really wish that I had an explanation to give you. I just always say it's my intuition and just me seeing into that real like mood and like what that person is feeling. I find that to be the beautiful thing about what I do. I think if somebody shows up and just gives me this little logo tattoo, like this little simple design, say, I just want this because it's not as special to me as if I sit with you and I get to know you, and so I can come up with a better piece that fits you, that is not just something that you took from the world. I feel like everyone needs that, you know, to just have this little like consultation like you do for your finances and things, but about your tattoos and what they represent for you and what is it you want. I've been there where you're sitting next to someone that doesn't really go with your personality, and you don't want someone like that. I believe in energy. Like if you're going to sit next to somebody, you need to believe in that. You need to have that respect. You're touching this person, you're putting your energy into it. You know, I think it's very special.
So what was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was my back piece.
Okay. Okay.
I got it at 18, as I guess as soon as I could. It is by the artist that I was talking about earlier, David Bolt, who gave the advice. And I that was what opened the whole thing of me trying to reach out to him, because it's always have mattered to me a lot that the person that creates the art actually has a kind heart, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
I do not mix with very arrogant, very up there artists. That's not my vibration. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it. Things have to be with like, you know, the right vibration. So after he wrote me that letter back, you know, that kind of confirmed what I knew already, that this person was special, that I saw that special thing through their work. And that is what I was really seeing. And so I decided that was going to be my first piece. I never really thought about tattooing myself a lot. That's not what got me into tattoos. I didn't want tattoos at all once I got into it. But that piece was really important to me because that was like the beginning of me just reclaiming, I'm going to do this for real. And it's an angel.
Okay.
Aww. So she's like, you know, she's on my back. It's for me. Not a lot of people get to see that tattoo. Not at all. Just my fiance. Really.
Good.
So I do believe in those tattoos that are for you. I even had people before tell me, you don't have enough tattoos to like do tattoos. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, you can't even see through my clothes. Like, how would you? What do you know what I have? Just because I chose not to tattoo the parts you see the most, doesn't mean that I don't have tattoos. All my tattoos are hidden from you for that reason.
Yeah.
So that's fine too. I never liked being flashy. I think my most flashy, I mean, my hand and arm and my throat that I got. But every tattoo does mean something very specific to me. It was important, almost like a chapter that year at the moment. That's what I needed. And so that's why I got it.
Oh my goodness. I keep telling Cheryl she needs to go get one. She's not
ready.
Not into it.
I like the art. I'm a big chicken when it comes to the pain. That's
the thing. That is another great thing to talk about. When you get tattooed by someone that just learned to tattoo in prison, and then you don't really know where this person came from, like it's kind of hard to tell if that person's going to be tough or if it's going to be okay with you. I mean, I have tattoos by different artists. I can tell you, I have Salvador Dali in my arm, and amazing artist, but he beat me up like for 5 hours. I was like, oh my God. And it was my arm. And then I got my throat done and didn't hurt at all because Ben was just amazing and nice and careful. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. I am an empath. I don't want to cause you pain, so I'm careful. I do what I'm supposed to do, but I also use all the things to kind of calm it down. So I'm not going for that, like mean, going in all the way.
Yeah.
I really do get to know your skin. I mean, everyone's skin is different. Everyone's age is different. You have to get to know how deep really you have to go. So it's not a matter of just like going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you just need the right person. That's why I say it's an addiction, because you go through it the first time and you realize this wasn't that hard at all.
I worked with somebody years and years and years ago who got his tattoo somewhere in Southeast Asia, and they used the bamboo tapping.
Oh yeah.
And it was a full sleeve. And I don't know how he made it, because I was like, did it hurt? He's like, I'm a grown man. Yeah, it hurt. So, I think that was like the first time where I saw one, I was like, that's beautiful. I'd like that on a canvas, not on my skin. But, to each their own, right? I have several friends who live for the tattoos. I have a friend whose daughter has all different tattoos. She's tiny wisp of a thing, but she's got, her arms are stories, her torso is a story. And I love and appreciate and admire tattoos, mostly because it is moving art, it is walking art. Everything always has a story. And I am not quite that brave enough to inflict that pain on myself, but I certainly appreciate the art for what it is. And what it is it tells a certain bit of history about yourself or your future or what's going in your life presently that spoke to you, right? And I certainly get where you're saying, right? Like somebody comes in and they're like, I want the infinity symbol. And I'm pretty sure like you can hear all of the tattoo artists across the country go, oh, please not again. It's an infinity. What did I do to deserve this? But there's also beauty, and it spoke to them at the time too. So,
well, you see, I've had so many experiences where the person really simply didn't know what to get. He wanted something, and he wanted something for that occasion, and he wanted to make it memorable, but he was simply copying somebody else's work because they themselves didn't know. So talking to that person, most of the times I have people come in and say, well, I want this landscape. And then I ask him, why is this landscape special? And they're like, well, I just like the picture. And then I ask, do you have a place where you go to, there's a landscape that's beautiful that you recognize? Because for somebody else, that would still be a landscape and it will still be random. But if you put that emphasis on something that you recognize, like for somebody else might not be that, but for you, it's different. And I think I try to bring all those little elements into it and just get people to open up their minds. They can have that service. It's not it's not just that quickly. I don't want to just to come in and get this and go away and I'll never see you again. I don't like that kind of work. So I like getting close to my clients, getting to know them. It's great because I don't feel like working when I'm working, it doesn't feel like.
That's lovely.
It is what I've had so far. And not everyone has to get a tattoo. Like, Cheryl, I'm just joking. I'm totally just joking. You don't actually need to. She's not. No, I am. For me, for me, getting them felt like a part of me that was supposed to be there. And I have some piercings and things like that too. It just, there's like these things when I get them, I'm like, that was supposed to be here. Like this was a part of me that felt missing almost. And then now that I have it, that I was missing that, and now it's here. We talk about the body, whatever, like adornment and things like that. Some people think it's torture, but I'm like, for me, it's adding to the piece that I feel like I'm supposed to be expressing as who I am. And this is now a part of that. And I don't have a lot, and I will definitely get more.
Still have a lot to live. When your tattoo is that part of you. Like, I never thought I will tattoo my throat in my life. Never. But one day, one year, I just realized that I had a lot to say. That was like, it was like my throat chakra. And it was like a year where I said, you know what, I'm going to say it because I want to say it. And because I feel it, damn it. Like, I don't care if it hurts your feelings because it's how I feel. It's hurting my feelings. So why do I have to shut it up? It was the year that I decided I'm just going to speak my mind and not be afraid, not be this little girl, that I used to be. And so that's why this came in, and it was so fitting, and it kind of blew my mind. And now it's just part of me, and I feel like it was meant to be. I just didn't then.
Oh, that's I mean, finding your voice and using your voice is incredibly empowering and can be really difficult if you've never been able to do it as well as you might have wanted to. What a gift.
Just doing this podcast. If you ask me what's my happening, like really, it would be this podcast.
That's awesome.
Because I'm so used to just like staying in the back. I really never wanted fame. I don't need people to recognize my face. I just simply wanted to do what I love and work with that energy of each person individually. So I feel like there's a lot of videos and things that I don't even post because it is a lot of time. It is time consuming. So you end up paying with not doing what you want to do for that much time because you're investing all this stuff, other time doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, which only gives you spectators, like not a lot of supporters, not a lot of voice. So it really makes you think I can do a lot more one-on-one that I can do by just sending it to the masses. I could only do this podcast to tell people that there are artists out there who care and they have that vibration and they have that empathy. And if that's what you're looking for, you should find it.
Yeah.
Telling you is the best thing you could do because one of tattoo I have on my chest, for example, was when my mom passed away. And I went to the shop I was working at and everyone knew my mom had passed away. And their immediate reaction was, go home, take this time, whatever. I'm like, I don't want to go home and cry all day. Like, really? That's what you want me to do? I'm trying to do something else and I want to get this. And they thought it was just too spontaneous. Like, are you sure? Ever? It's a day late. My mom already died. I should have gotten this for her before this happened. And I had talked to her about it and I waited so long. And now here we are, a day late. So I sat in front of a mirror and I tattooed my own chest at the shop.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
I needed to have it that day. So I get the struggle, I get the struggle that a lot of people just think they know what's best for you. And that's why I say that I'm really stubborn. That's what got me here because that's what I wanted. I mean, after a while doing it, my friend was like, okay, let me take over. I'll help you with some stuff. And he did some other stuff for me, but that's just what I want to offer people, I was working at a shop before they closed on Sundays and there was a client that I was going to have who had gone through a loss of her child. And I have her come in that day and the shop was closed. And as soon as she walked in, she was surprised. Is the shop closed today? And I said, yeah, because this is a very emotional tattoo. And if you need room to cry, I want you to cry and not have anybody around you to be looking at you. I mean, I do care about everything that you're going through. Yeah. I try to put it in the tattoo, but it's an intention that goes into you. I'm putting it to you. Like, it's a special thing. I love it. And that's why you invited me to this podcast.
It is. It's exactly it.
I love it. It's all a chain. We're all helping each other. You got to me because you needed that. And now look at this. It's going into other people. Listen, who knows where that might be in the same situation. And I'm telling you, it could be hard to find that person, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. So what advice would you give your younger self or other younger artists?
I thought about that a lot. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. And I think it's just the negativity, just stay away from everything that's not saying what you're thinking. Because I think a lot of the times we bring up, I want to do this, and then we present it to people to see if it's okay. That's not okay. You should be able, it's just like manifesting things. And, you were talking about recently in one of your podcasts that this podcast just came like that too. And you just, when you tell yourself things, this is going to happen, it's going to happen. It's not, but if you just keep doubting and then makes things a lot more difficult. I think because I was stubborn and I took all that negativity and I think in a way just fed my soul and I put that into my work and what I wanted to do. Again, I never thought that I was going to be this artist in Spokane like 15 years later. I still have clients that I've tattooed 15 years ago for the first time and I still see them on a regular basis. And that's amazing.
So cool.
That I didn't have a single person here at some point in my life. And now I have so many that I can't count. And it fills my heart. I love it because I know they're all been special and I know how they see it too. So I love that.
And we had, like you said, you heard it already on another episode, but like having those people that surround you that are supportive of the ideas that you have and encouraging of that and that like that is so incredibly important, and being intentional about the voices that you bring into your life and allow to stay in your life
Yeah.
are huge, right?
Yeah.
Do you have that sort of chorus or whatever you want to call it of supportive folks around you now?
My clients.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe all of
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
I just think now it became even more important to me because I have a son with a disability.
Sure.
And at some point in time, I asked myself, like, why am I suffering so much? Like, why am I going through all this, like, really, really wave after wave? And then I have this beautiful child that needs this, all this extra time and attention, and put things in perspective for me, because here is this kid who might not be able to do, what every other average kid does, but it has a parent that could really say, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you put your mind into it, it's going to be hard, because I still have that from my dad. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. So I'm putting both of them together.
You
and
do.
of love and kind heart, and telling that to your kids. If I had to advise anyone, would be to just any little kids anywhere. I mean, you should not tell a kid they can't do something, because you don't know the determination they're gonna have, or a passion for that.
Right.
It's the passion shouldn't come from you. If you're gonna teach your kids, should be that they're strong enough to deal with that on their own, because they're each gonna have their own life. Yeah, get rid of negativity and bad people. I think that has been really easy in my life. I'm also really easy when I have a client come to me and he is just complete ass, and they try to, I mean, I've had all kinds of nastiness. It is easy for me to say, okay, you're not gonna work for me, but it was nice meeting you, and just move on from that and not care.
Yeah.
Not care if that person will like me or not, because ultimately a person is not part of my life. Whether that person likes me or not, it shouldn't matter anyway. And I don't put that into my work. If you're not useful in my life in a way, or bring me happiness, I don't want you. And I don't think you deserve that time. If that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It
Put that
definitely
time
does.
into me. I put my time into myself. And it's the best thing I could have done. I do a million things artistically that I like to do, and I still get on new things all the time, but because I want to learn them and I want to get better at it. But the thing of working with the clients, that's always been my goal, and I'm just very, very happy that I get to do that.
For your other mediums of art, do you, I can't even think of the word right now, commission, that's the one. Do people request things? Okay, so what does that look like for you, and how do you kind of go through that process?
Well, it doesn't happen very often, but I do love doing animal portraits. Is one of my awesome things that I like to do. I love animals just as much as I love plants. And love airbrushing and working in layers and doing portraits like that. It's just really rewarding for me. I really love doing it. But I do whatever I want at the moment. I think that's the best way to put it. I have done these little demos and stuff at art places here in Spokane.
Oh, cool.
And people from, teenagers to 80-year-olds, and I tell all the same thing. It's not too late. Like, if you want to learn something, don't be intimidated. I mean, you're just wasting time sitting there thinking you can't do it anyway. Might as well just try it and push yourself.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, is there a medium that you're curious about now that you haven't tried yet?
Yes. I have been really trying to postpone it so it won't take my life for the next
Uh-oh.
Okay. But it's wood burning.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I've seen some amazing things out there, and people even using it to do extreme hyper realism, if you can believe it. There's just like unbelievable talent out there. I mean, that's all the thing. I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have internet. I had to go to a cyber cafe to pay for an hour of internet to send emails and to just check MySpace.
Right?
MySpace.
And then now everywhere you open something and it's a constant flow of creative people doing what they love. It's kind of hard to just not be like, oh my God, I'm inspired, I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah,
that's how I push myself too. If I'm having a low day, I see other people create and it just picks me right up. I can't stay behind. I have to go and try something new. trying new things is pretty great. It is very rewarding at the end of the day when you have taught yourself to do something different.
Yeah.
I've told Cheryl this before too, where like I get in these modes where I think I've consumed too much, whether, right, not just eating, right, but like watching TV or even like reading sometimes or doing this stuff. I'm like, all I'm doing is consuming. I need to create. Like I need whatever that is. I mean, I've got multiple projects of things around me that I'm like, I need to put out. And how do I do that? And I feel like sometimes we're not able to do that or don't realize that that's the like calling that we need to put things out. We don't have to be the best at it. We don't have to be professionals, but just to start creating gives you a whole new outlook. It just your body feels different when you're in that act of creating.
Yeah. And I've heard it so many times when people look at my work and say, oh my God, you were born with such a talent. And I hate that phrase, really, because I was born with tiny hands and they couldn't do anything. And it's usually what I like to do. It's a lot. You have to give yourself credit when you learn something. You weren't just born with it. I put a lot of time and effort. And there's a lot of people who say, oh, I wish I could do that. And I ask, but would you?
Yeah.
Like to sit down there for 8 hours. I mean, I have pieces that have gone for over 100 hours that I'm like, I'm never selling this. This will never. That's just too much of my time in it. But I love it and I cannot stop myself. So I roll it away and I put it away. It made me happy, or I guess it was happening. That's like plus 100 hours of not therapy that I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This way. Yeah, that's how I see it.
One of the things that I have seen a lot within your stuff, and or maybe it was a more recent thing you've been working on, was eyes. I've seen a lot of.
Not reason at all.
Okay, great. When I had seen some of your artwork, there was a lot of eyes. Like, what is it about the eyes that for you is so interesting?
Window to the soul. I think it's about being an empath. Just the eyes never lie. It doesn't matter. It's just like, I feel like if you're an empath, you would know. You just can't. Like, it's funny, but some people will try to lie to me straight up, and I go along with it. But I know they're lying. And I think there's a way for you to tell. Eyes are just special to me. I always loved them. I remember thinking when I was younger, when I was a little kid, thinking all of her eyes are like the colors of the earth. How beautiful is that? Brown or they're green. And my mind exploded a little.
Yeah.
So it's just like how we're reflecting the world in our eyes. I don't know. I always had this kind of poetic thing with eyes since I was a kid. I just love to do it. My best friends still tell me, one of my friends really recently was like, oh, you remember when we were in middle school and then you're like, don't move, and like you're drawing my eye. Like, yeah, and then like, look at you now. Like, that's what you're doing. That's kind of cool. Yeah, always loved eyes. I try to leave them behind because I feel like I did so much that people respected nothing but eyes from me for a while. But if I stop for a while, then people are like, oh, I just love your eyes. When are you gonna start doing them again? So I can't escape it. I love it. I can honestly tell you, I've been sitting there with friends that are telling me all their issues and they're crying at me, and I just suddenly come with my phone. I'm like, I'm sorry, I know. So take a picture real quick of your eye because I'm sorry. It's just such a beautiful explosion of emotion. And I know I'm not taking this moment to be like, what you're saying is not important. It's just that's art to me. That's how do you translate that? Can I translate this emotion into this drawing? That's the challenge, and that's what's fun.
We were recently talking to someone too, and I don't even remember where I heard this, but like tears even take on different shape or like different forms based on like the emotion and different things that come out, and like they've looked at them under microscopes. I just think it's fascinating.
That's amazing. Yep, that is the kind of stuff that I'm into. Or how like water has emotion, or like,
right?
Those studies are like, how crazy, But yeah, that's why I believe in energy, and I believe if you do things with good intention, then good things will happen to you, and good things come back. I have so many good stories.
Oh my goodness. Well, so you have Instagram. Is there anywhere else people can find you if they're looking for your art or anything like that?
Instagram has been my constant, I think, ever since I
Okay.
started there. That's where I have everything. I don't think there is one place where you'll find the variety of things that I've done, like my whole entire work.
Yeah.
Dead Deli on Instagram is everything I do, from tattoos to art, any kind of art, watercolors, airbrush, sculptures. I do a lot of different things. And then I have tattoos, Dead Deli tattoos, that is Dead Deli underscore tattoos, where it's just exclusively my clients. Like I just did that for my clients specifically and my tattoo work alone. I do not like Facebook very much. I don't spend a lot of time in there. Even though I have works in there, I just don't spend a lot of time. Instagram is like you said, that you don't, I feel like people feel insecure or feel bad about stalking someone for more than a certain number of posts. But I challenge you to stalk me for at least 10 years because I haven't stopped doing stuff. There's so many different things. And yeah, and that's the other thing with me, that I could never really just do one thing. I think tattoos have been my constant and all that, but I always kind of have to branch out and do something else that I don't know how to do.
Well, I will definitely say from personal experience, it is worth the scroll. It is amazing. And all of the different pieces that you try, everything from the sculpture to the watercolors to, like you said, the hyperrealism. I'm dying now to see what you do with woodworking. And yeah, I totally went to your tattoos page too, because I thought I was like, I have to keep going now. And it's all gorgeous. And I appreciate that you put a little bit of yourself into it, in that you see the person for who they are, you see their stories. And art is always supposed to be created with love and emotion, and I think you do that really well in all of your mediums. I think anybody who is a client of yours, and I'm sure I'm speaking for Eileen, is that they walk away feeling very special. And I will say this, I felt very special talking to you today, because I've always loved art and I love seeing different artists do their thing. You've definitely done your thing, and you've met your calling. You've seen your calling. I would imagine that your mom and your brother are very proud of you.
Thank you. I know they were. Definitely. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. Definitely, it was my goal in life, and I'm so happy about it. Thank you for having me here and talking about this, because
this was
definitely
so much fun.
I've never done. And like I said before, like the happening thing for me is this, just telling people what they can get out there and how people feel about their tattoos or their artists and how people do things. But definitely for me is, trying to open up more and get to more people if I can.
Yeah, we need you.
Just
in general.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes.
The right ones will come to me.
You're right. No, you're totally right. Or if they're wrong, you'll tell them that they are. So no, thank you anyway.
Exactly. And I did have an experience as I tried to open up to this person and be like, can you tell me all that I want to know? They were very, no, why? So I instantly was like, oh, okay, this is not going to work. But thank you for coming, reaching out. I was completely blown away. Like, you're giving the job away because I won't tell you about me. And I just kind of like, it sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? It just sounds like a person that is going to make it very hard for me to get the information I need to give you the piece that you want. Yeah. The more difficult it is for me to communicate with you, the more difficult it's going to be to know what you need, or, for those visions to come to my head. I find that when people open up to me, that's when the creative things comes, and there's like, it's like a shot of creativity. If that part is not there, it's just not as fun for me. If that makes sense. Sure. It's almost like I love doing cover-ups, but in a way, working at shops, that's kind of disrespectful because you're covering someone else's work. Yeah. But to me, it's like, this person chose to get this covered up for a reason. Right. I'm not putting it on someone's head downtown Spokane being like, let me cover this for you. Right. This person is obviously unhappy, and I want to change that. I want to make you so happy. I want to change it. Not just that, I don't want you to even ever see it again. I don't want you to notice that I make it my job to do that. But that's what makes it fun for me, is the challenge and the person. What can I put in there and what not? Like, I work a little bit different, and a lot of people say, oh, when I show up to see Gabby, I have no idea what she's going to have for me. Probably happened to you too.
It sure did.
I never send you a design or tell you or something. It just comes to me. And then the moment I see you and I see the area where I'm going to put the tattoo, that's where I'm going to start puzzling my stencil and see if it works. Before I even turn to you and say, okay, what do you think now? I still have to see you. I have to see my canvas. It's different when you see something 2D on a piece of paper than when you see it on a body. That's another part of creating that makes it exciting for me. Is when the client shows up, that's when it starts. I can't show you how it's going to look before you arrive, if that makes sense. So how I work, but everyone have learned to live that way and they get excited to come in and be like,
totally.
oh, for me. So it's not all the time that I see somebody that don't like what I created. And if that happens, I'm always very glad to change it around or do something about it. I will, if I don't see that excitement in your face about getting this piece, it's not happening.
Gabby, it's been so much fun to have you here. I cannot wait to see you in person again. We'll have to talk about that.
Absolutely.
On behalf of Cheryl and myself, we want to thank our listeners for being here. And this will end our episode of You Only Go Once. Have a great, well, it's our night, so we'll have a great night. Hopefully you have a great whatever time of day you're listening.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And goodbye.